Hello, my fellow viewers and subscribers. This is Supercholatemilkshake, and I am here with the daily dose of chocolate. Hoy! 2026. What a year, huh? Considering that we've gotten several U.S. citizens killed by ICE, and there also has been issues with our own government, and of course there's also been issues with inflation causing prices to go up, and then of course not to mention there was also a war that got started sometime towards the beginning of this year, but you know, I mean, that's all done and over with. I mean, we're through with 2026, right? Wait, what was that? Okay, I just got informed that we're only 2 months into 2026. What? Oh, come on! Can it be over already? I think I'm just stating the obvious here. I think we're all feeling it. We all just want 2026 to be over at this point because, you know what, let's face it, everything is going off the rails at this point. Like, seriously, we have another pointless war started in, what was it, Iran, I think? Why? It's not like the last 3 times we went to war with the Middle East, we didn't have a Republican officer, and the last 2 times anyway, we didn't have a Republican as president. Oh, yeah, that's right, we did. Shoot. Well, you can't really necessarily say they're the party of peace, now can you? But anyway, that doesn't matter, because you know what, when it comes down to it, he decided to declare a war, and gas prices are going through the roof again. Yippee! You know, it's not like I think we couldn't get any more screwed over. I mean, also with the fact that Dad just stepped up and also told me that Trump said in an interview that he is open to the idea of doing the draft. Now, just because he's open doesn't mean he's going to do it. But I really hope he doesn't. Because, first of all, when it comes down to it, yes, I am inside the draft age still. Like, I only got, maybe about a week left. As of recording, by the way. As of releasing, it will be way shorter than that. But I got less than a week left before I turn 30. Yeah, quite literally. My birthday is quite literally around the corner for me. And, you know, I am kind of upset with this, too, because, you know, I mean, sure, I would probably choose to serve than to fight, because, you know what, personally, I would rather serve than fight. I don't want to kill anybody, period, end of story. And, you know, if I ever had to say anything about this whole war thing, it's stupid. Why did he start this? Oh, yeah, that's right. He's probably distracting for the Epstein files, and I also have that other feeling that he also did this for the same reason he did he bombed Venezuela and took their president. It's because he also wants to declare martial law so that he can be president forever. Not that that worked with the war with the Middle East. Not that I think it really mattered, because I think those last 2 presidents actually did step down for the good of the country, but that's neither here nor there. Let's face it, no matter which way you look at it, this is just terrible. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the news is bad. Because, you know, right now his health is deteriorating right before our eyes. And it's becoming more and more apparent and obvious day by day. There are rashes appearing upon his neck now. He has bruises on his hands that even the makeup won't hide. And his ankles are so freaking swollen. Like, by this point, he's probably so dosed up on drugs that are keeping him alive that honestly, I'm surprised he isn't dying from the drugs yet. To be honest. But that's neither here nor there. Again, the fact that he isn't going yet is the biggest issue. Despite the fact that it feels like he could go at any moment. And you know what? There are people actually raising up the things of impeachment. And by the way, I'm actually happy with that. Some of the MAGA voters are starting to turn away from their base. Does that mean I forgive him for voting this man into the office? No. But I do welcome him to our cause. Look, when it comes down to it, I think the worst possible thing that we could do as people is to not welcome him into our cause. Because if we don't welcome him in, and we don't try to help them, or let them help turn the tides, so that we're in favor again, and not some big corporation, and not Donald Trump himself, then of course, you know what? The better off we'll be as a country. Because, you know, if we can't work together, we'll hang together. famous quote from a famous naval officer, by the way. I can't remember what his name was, but, when it comes down to it, it's true. Like, we really do need to start working together on this, because at this point, like, this is the only way we can really force any kind of change. Look, they are still a minority at the end of the day, okay? There are still more of us down here who have to fight everyday living in the frickin' trenches, okay? Like, there is no escaping that. There is no beating around the bush with that. Like, we have to live day by day just trying to go from paycheck to paycheck, And that's something I think a lot of people really do need to understand and need to, like, process too, because again, that's something that we're having a hard time doing right now, because wages are so freaking low right now, and companies, because of the fact that they're not making that much money right now, and because of the fact that they also want to be greedy profiteering companies, and because of the fact that there's also going to be a war going on, they're probably going to raise prices, keep our paychecks pretty much the same, and not even turn a blind eye to the fact that we're probably going to end up being that we're going to end up starving before we can even come back to work. This is kind of where it's like, we really do need to look at this, and you know what? We need to revoke Trump's big, beautiful bill, because you know what? Giving tax breaks to the rich people, no, that's not going to fix anything. In fact, when it comes down to it, it makes things worse, because when rich people end up making more money off of stuff that they're making a ton of money off of, well, what incentive do they have to lower the prices on anything? Nothing. What incentive do they have to give more money to other people like us? Nothing. See? And that's the thing. Like, raising the tax on the rich would definitely be more beneficial, because you know what? Like, for example, let's say they make $1 million a year, okay? Like, 1%, that's still $100,000. And sure, even if it's from like 5 or 6 billionaires, that's $600,000 that could still be used to go somewhere else to help make things cheaper or make living better, And, that's the thing. Like, jobs are getting harder to find right now. I mean, the jobs report for February just came out, and there are far more people looking for jobs than places actually hiring. It's upsetting to hear that kind of stuff, Like, that should never be the case. At this point, like, if you haven't noticed, I've been kind of slowing down on some of the content I also do on this channel too. And sometimes, if you haven't noticed, the content that I am doing with the Month of the Shake, I am mostly working on the game, or released on my demo for Cowboy Boyman. There's a reason why for it. It's because I am switching into the mode of not really having a job within the next coming months. Not years, months. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if it's sometime within weeks, because my hours have already decreased and gotten shorter. Like, I'm only working 3 days this week. Sure, I mean, I don't mind the extra time off, but at the same time, so I'm not getting paid enough to work 3 days and still keep the roof over my head, or even keep the place that my parents are helping me keep over my head. Which again kind of leads into a catch-22 situation, and I need to start figuring out how to make more money off of the things that I'm currently doing. Which, by the way, I do have a Patreon, I do have a Ko-fi. You guys don't have to support it if you don't have to either, because you know what? I mean, you don't have to support it if you don't want to, because I can also understand where you guys are coming from. You guys could probably barely afford food on your table. You could barely afford to just even go out anymore. Like, period. End of story. They're wondering why people don't want to go out and touch grass. Well, yeah, there's a reason why they don't want to go out and touch grass, because the world has become a dull place, and there's no reason to go out. Third places where you don't have to spend money and you could just hang out has just completely and totally disappeared. Now it's just home or work. And now you're not even getting the option of work. Now you're just having the option of just home. So basically at this point, we really do need to start relying on each other as people, where we need to start just tossing the money within ourselves and stop trying to invest in these big corporations out there, because, well, most of these big corporations are making so much money right now. They could wipe their butt with $100 bills and not miss a single one of them. And that's kind of the thing. It's like, that's why, honestly, we really need to start taxing the rich, and honestly start doing things like, as a government, announcing a UBI, a universal basic income. Like, look, I know it doesn't fix everything, but you know what? Like, I actually was having an argument with my coworker about this, okay? And I will talk about this too. He was actually suggesting that housing should be at least 25% of your paycheck, or at least 20%, or 10%. Something about that, okay? Like, something about 10% of your annual pay. And you know what? I'm not going to argue with that. That's not a bad idea. Or monthly pay, but it doesn't matter. Still, point is, I'm not going to argue that. But here's the problem. It's still not going to stop most of these landlords from being scummy jerkwads and preventing you from living there, or either that, giving you the worst possible living situation because you're not paying enough to have them take care of the house, you know? There's nothing that's really going to stop them from that. You can't really necessarily do that. So what's the next best thing that we can do? Well, you know what? How about this? Instead of trying to focus on making housing affordable, which, you know, we should be making housing affordable, but I don't think we can at this point because, honestly, everything is reaching for an implosion and more people are more interested in renting right now because owning a house is just out of the idea, okay? Like, there is no way that anybody in this modern day of age is going to be able to own a house or able to fully pay off for a house before they die anymore because the housing market is just way too crazy. So how about this? How about let's just try to alleviate the rent? Just try to, you know, make it so it's not so bad. Like handing out a $600 paycheck a month to each and every citizen in the United States so that they can pay off the rent, or at least every single citizen that doesn't make more than, like, well, I don't know. I mean, right now the national living wage should be about $40 an hour, so I might as well just aim for there. If you make less than $40 an hour, well then basically, well actually I guess it's way more than that now, considering that inflation's going crazy and housing prices are still rising. My guess may be about $60 an hour, but that still may not be enough. But anyway, like, if you're underneath that amount of pay rate, then honestly, you will be able to get that kind of paycheck. And honestly, that paycheck can be used to either pay off your rent, it could be used to pay off food, it could be used to pay off something. And guess what? That is $600 you do not have to worry about anything with. That is $600 that is going specifically to help you alleviate something so that you can focus your money on something else. And that, therefore, you can actually get into thinking about maybe affording an apartment, or affording a loan, or affording something like that, or affording something for housing, you know? I mean, that's something that I think would definitely help. It doesn't necessarily create lazy people, as much as some people would want to think. Because again, like I said, $600, actually, tell you the truth, when I was looking around at housing a short while ago, back in 2022, I think, 2021, somewhere around that time frame, I remember finding apartments that were about as low as $600 a month. So basically that means $600 a month for a universal basic income would mean that it would cover the rent. And that's it. It wouldn't cover anything else. But you know what? That meant $600 that I could be spending on other things that I need to be spending on. Like my utilities, or my, or like health insurance, or things like, you know, stuff like that. Okay? Actually, to tell you the truth, we really shouldn't be doing health insurance anymore. That needs to die. I mean, seriously, when it comes down to it, I'm kind of glad that Luigi Mangione did not get the death penalty, which, you know, I'm happy for that, but they still need to release him because, you know what, I agree with him. Like, health insurance is a scam. We really do need to start taking a look at what most of these other countries are doing around the world and realizing that free Medicare is probably far better than anything else. And if that means that people who are able to afford the taxes for that, well, if they have to pay the taxes for that in order to enter in there, at least they could still do it for free, and they know that their taxes are paying off that anyway. Like, honestly, that would make the most amount of sense, wouldn't it? I mean, that would make the most amount of sense if they started taxing me, because, you know, I'm not exactly in the most unfortunate position. They could still tax me for the health insurance thing. And you know what? I'd be perfectly fine. If my taxes going to pay off somebody else's health bill, you know what? I am perfectly happy with that, because you know what? At least it's not sitting idle. And you know what? If it's paying off a bill that I need to pay off, well, you know what? it's still not sitting idle. And you know what? It's using something that's helping me. I mean, it's benefiting everybody at the end of the day. So why the heck not do it? Why the heck? Oh yeah, that's right. We want to play games and make as much money as we possibly can off of you guys. That's right. That's right. Oh, screw common welfare. Let's just, try to make it private and make it as much money as we possibly can off of it and screw as many people over as we possibly can without realizing that eventually it's going to all blow up in our face when these people who, well, unfortunately can't afford it, will no longer be able to afford it anymore, is going to just stop doing the things that they are doing to pay us, Like, this is the thing, too. It's also blowing up in their faces. Because, I've heard BlackRock is actually denying loans. And, if you didn't know who BlackRock is the most evil organization out there. Just saying. They quite literally are the ones that ended up buying up a whole lot of houses after the housing crisis so that they can go, basically charge as much as they possibly can for houses and rent and all that other stuff, which is part of the reason why housing is so freaking expensive. They're also like one of the biggest people who contribute so much to government that they have pretty much their sticky little paws on everything inside the government. Like I said, this is the reason why we also need to get rid of super PACs. Like, the idea of a super PAC just needs to go. Period. End of story. Actually, if you ask me, tell you the truth, if I were to change the voting system around, I would do something like this. Now, hear me out. First of all, yes, it would be totally ranked choice, because first of all, yes, I think that would be a better voting system, and of course, at least it'd be lower, like, yeah, the people get their votes in. But honestly, I would also do something a little more extreme than that, too. I would have like a poll at the very beginning of the year. Well, of course, there'd still be terms, but there would be a poll at the very beginning of the year asking about a performance review on each and every senator or governor, or even the president themselves. Asking, okay, what did you like? What you disliked? Would you vote for this guy? Would you like to keep this guy for another year, or would you like to vote him out? And you know what? If enough people say vote him out, well, guess what? That means that we get to hold another election. Like, kind of impromptu and quickly, but anybody who wants to step up can step up. And you know what? Even the person who is currently inside the presidency will have to fight for their position because, well, they have to fight and straighten up for their position because they're going to lose their position if they don't. See? And that's the thing. Well, of course, they still will have their terms. They still have to step down because, of course, don't forget, Mark Twain has once said that politicians and diapers need to be changed often, and both for the same reason. And that quote is so true. Like, so true on so many levels. And, I think this is something that I think a lot of people really need to step back and look at from a long distance, okay? Like, something that we really do need to start reevaluating. And also, when it comes down to it, we also need to get rid of the party system as well. Also, the Electoral College, screw it too. I know some people are probably going to be like, oh, but the Electoral College helps small places or small populations have their voices. Okay, fine. I'll tell you something. I live in Wyoming. Want to know how many Electoral College votes that we get? 2. Now, let's compare that to a state like California, who get I don't know, 32, I think. I mean, I lost count, but they have a lot. Also, New York, same thing. How about, I think even Rhode Island gets more than Wyoming, tell you the truth. So, wait a second. You're telling me that smaller, lesser populated states have bigger voices with Electoral College, despite the fact that Wyoming only gets 2 votes, and, California gets a large amount. I'm sorry, how is this fair? How does this balance this out? How does this make a state? No, this doesn't work. And besides that, it also seems a little bit unfair, too, because that means that the people who are wanting to be represented, because, there are Democrats within the state of Wyoming, as much as some people would want to argue otherwise. You know what? If they got rid of the Electoral College, a lot of these deep red states, most of the Rust Belt states, will end up turning purple. And it's not because of the fact that we have more Democrats coming out to vote because the Electoral College system is gone. No, it's because we would have a more balanced and fair vote. for everybody across the board. I mean, the Electoral College made sense years ago. I mean, back when they had to carry most of their mail by horse wagon, they had to count it all out by hand. Like, yeah, back then, I guess it makes plenty of sense. Especially when we didn't have that much of a population. But now, we got millions and millions of people. I mean, billions, in fact, if I'm not mistaken. And we also happen to have, if I'm not mistaken, better methods of counting these votes. And you know what? Even recounting if we need to. We have better methods of doing that. And you know what? Because of that, why do we still have Electoral College? Why do we still have this? This doesn't make any sense. It's broken. It's stupid. It's a dumb system. It needs to go. Why do we need this? Why do we have this? It just doesn't make much sense to me anymore. And see, that's the thing. Like, I understand I may be complaining about our government, but you know what? At this point, I think it's better to raise the stink about the government right now than ever. Because, you know what? It feels like we're losing our voices as well. Look, I think I've made this point before, but I also need to make this point again. You know what? I don't know why Google is being allowed to get away with decentralizing the Android platform and not allowing us to install external apps from name packs, you know? Like, I know they call it sideloading, but I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's still a device. You bought it, you paid for it, and you can download apps and install them externally. You know what? I think it's kind of unfair that you can't do that with iPhones. I mean, like, right now, there's going to be basically no difference between the Android and the iPhone. And you know what? It's bad enough I can barely tell the difference in between the two anyway. Because, I mean, they're both basically screens with cameras on the back and a camera on the front and just processing power that they upgrade every single year, and yet they don't change the form factor of the phone. And when they do, it's with some dumb convoluted flip technology that sure may be cool on the surface, but in the long run, does it really make sense? Is it really practical? I mean, sure, there may be some good things, but I also don't necessarily see any bad things either. I mean, there may be good things, but I also see bad things with it too. And that's kind of the issue that a lot of people also need to consider as well. It's like, sheesh, I remember back when the phone market used to be way better, but I've already talked about this. And then, of course, not to mention the whole AI thing, which, you know, I mean, come on, really? Why? Why are we investing so much in this? Like, I already gave out my opinions on AI as well, but I hate it. I literally do. I cannot think of any use cases for it besides, well, video game AI, but that stuff has existed for years. And really, that kind of AI is also kind of like the normal AI that we have right now anyway, that it's already determined by user input. It can't run self-sufficiently. It cannot run just by itself. It needs somebody to put in something, you know? And that's something I think a lot of people also need to realize, too, before they start jumping off the boat and saying, oh, but AI's useful, AI's great. No, it's not. And I don't need any more AI features shoved into my freaking phone. You know, at this point, it's like I kind of want to invest in Motorola because I heard that they're actually investing in Graphene OS, trying to give users a little more of variety in their operating system. And you know what I think really needs to make a comeback too? Or something that really needs to come in strong and we need more developers for? Linux Mobile OS. Yes, they literally make a mobile operating system for Linux. However, the range of phones that it runs on is very limited. We need more people who have experience in all these other phones to, you know what, develop the Linux Mobile OS for these other phones so that we can use Linux OS instead of Android. Because, you know what? Actually, I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea. And honestly, the more people we have working on it, the more people that actually support mobile Linux, you know what? I think the better it will become. The better and stronger, and honestly, the more available it will become. And the more easier it would also probably be to install on your phones as well. But that's neither here nor there. Like I said, again, the real truth is that basically I'm getting kind of tired of the lockdowns too. And then not to mention also age verification. Let's just say that could go die in a ditch. I gave out my 2 cents on this one, but I think I will give it out again. Like, honestly, age verification is nothing more than just government control at this point. Like, it's just the government just trying to get your name, your age, your date, and whatever. And that's stuff that you were supposed to not... You were told as kids and as adults, when the internet came out, to never share across the internet. Look, there's a reason why I have a very confusing naming scheme with my channel, okay? Like, there's a reason why you may see like 3 or 4 different names associated with this channel, because it's not just because I want people to know, it's because I want people to just not figure it out. You know? And again, like I said, I'm not comfortable about giving that out. I'm sorry for taking a drink of water like that, but oh well. I'm not comfortable about giving that out because, again, privacy is security. And by the way, no, it's not protecting the children, okay? Like, honestly, I think the things that really end up damaging the children the most are the platforms that we aim for children. So basically like YouTube Kids or Roblox or stuff like that, you know? Like, gosh dang it, I remember back when I wasn't allowed to go online, you know? The internet was a foreign concept, so I had to make fun with what we had. So basically, I was basically playing all the PC games that my mom and dad were buying, or my mom and dad were affording. And, you know, this is also kind of how I ended up having some deep knowledge of 101 Dalmatians Escape from DeVille Manor, because I've experimented around with that game a lot. I really do need to talk about those speedruns someday. But also, I do have... Why Need for Speed Porsche Unleashed is still one of my favorite games, even to today. And, you know, I also remember dinking around a lot in the Scooby-Doo Extreme Skateboarding, the Extremely Goofy Skateboarding demo disc that we got from a cereal box. And then, of course, also a Spider-Man demo that I also got from a cereal box as well. Quite a few cereal box demos. I mean, that would be an interesting subject to talk about sometime, but that's neither here nor there. Sheesh. I also remember playing a lot of PC games when I was in, middle school, intermediate school, and primary school, you know? Like, we had to run with the games that they gave us, you know? Because they wouldn't trust us on the internet. And then, well, it was over after I hit middle school, because that's when the internet started becoming more mainstream. But even then, they were only restricting us to what they allowed us to. Heck, even my YouTube channel got started actually only because of the fact that the high school actually started allowing us to go onto YouTube because of the new system that they had set up. So, of course, that's kind of why I started my whole YouTube thing, but I'll talk about that later when I actually get into the anniversary of this channel, which, by the way, hopefully you guys stay tuned for, but that's neither here nor there. Alright, I think I've rambled on long enough, though, because I think I may be going into a bit of an hour territory here. But still, like I said, this is kind of how things are going. This is not exactly the best, or this is not exactly the best when it comes down to ordeals, okay? Like, I think that this is probably the worst possible case scenario that we could have ever had. And you know what? When it comes down to it, it's not like it's all hopeless, okay? We can still raise up our voices. We could still fight this. We could still talk about this. And that's what we need to be doing. We need to be talking about it. We need to be raising up our voices about it. We need to be saying it more. Join local protests, okay? Like, honestly, I am planning to join the No Kings protest sometime this March. I think the 20th, 21st. I forget when, but I do plan to go on that one, even if it's going to be kind of expensive for me. Because you know what? Like, it's more important than anything right now. Screw the politics. Like, I'm getting sick and tired of it. This is beyond politics. Now this is about actual well-being. This is actually about living your life. You know? And not living it the way they want you to. Living it the way you want to. Because that's what real freedom is about. Living it the way that you prefer. Saying the things that you want to say without having the worry of being shut down or shut out. You know? Well, okay, not until it becomes untrue, but then, of course, that's neither here nor there, and that's a bit of a debatable thing, but still. Like, that's the whole idea about freedom, okay? You know, it's funny that I grew up with the very idea that, you know, anybody could become president. Just because anybody can doesn't mean everybody should, but anybody could become president. Doesn't matter if they're a foreign immigrant. It doesn't matter if they were born in the United States. It doesn't matter if they were an alien from space. They could become president. because that was the very idea that I was taught, you know, when I was a kid. Schoolhouse Rock, American Melting Pot. Look it up. Great song, by the way. And also, when it comes down to it, we had No Kings in the USA, too. Also another great song by Schoolhouse Rock. Look it up. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So anyway, let me know what your thoughts are down below inside the comments. And hey, if you're new here, please be sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And you know what? I know things are looking kind of grim right now, but you know what? Being creative is also a good way to change the world. And honestly, if you really want to express your creativity in any way, shape, or form, then you know what? Join down below a game jam that I'm currently hosting called the Shake It Up Jam. Now, basically, it's a jam where you basically take two different themes and you try to combine them together. I know this is a little bit weird, but you know, when it comes down to it, creativity is one of the most important hallmarks of freedom too. You know, it's something that we need to protect. And you know what? You don't have to be a game developer in order to join either. You could be an artist. You can be a music creator. You could be, or a musician, I mean. Sorry. Let's get that correct. You could be quite literally a voice actor or a story writer. And you could still join this jam, by the way. You could just team up with somebody who knows how to make games, you know? There's nothing that stops you from doing that. And you know what? Nothing should. So go ahead and join. What do you got to lose? I mean, really, all games that are made will be featured on this channel. And no, I will not be embarrassing you guys, okay? I will try hard to do my best. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So anyway, this is Superchocolatemilkshake, signing off.